We're the circle in the square.
Bang out to this.
I'm not sure what that music was.
I'm not sure either. That was some great stuff.
Yeah.
I think we might actually be live now, Brooke.
Oh, awesome. So welcome to our maiden voyage today, folks. This is Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. I'm Brooke McGowan.
Adrian Otap, welcome to the show. Appreciate you taking this journey with us.
Right, so this is our first time to do a live in this capacity, and we are really excited to give an update. Obviously, we had a couple of rough weeks there going.
Absolutely.
The Supreme Court came down on 2 Fridays ago, I suppose it was,
yes, it was.
And stated that our petition was ruled invalid. Now, we had 2 protests. The first protest was from the POE, and that protest was proclaiming that our petition was unconstitutional, and that was not the case at all. But the second protest came down from OEA, Tulsa Public Schools, COSA, about 10 different unions,
yes,
I think, across the state.
All the unions, I think,
right.
about on the education
So it looked like almost, I don't know, maybe 100,000 people in Oklahoma suing our little
grassroots group.
Our little grassroots group. That's right.
Total David and Goliath scenario here.
And that protest was revolving around what they called the gist, which is the paragraph at the top where the lines are that we sign, as well as the body of the protest, the bill, the actual bill.
Petition itself.
Now, you were with us, Adrian, on May 1st.
Yes, when we went to file initially.
We went to file initially, and if you recall, we had it on 8.5 by 11. It wasn't clear, and it showed that they told us it had to be on 8.5
by 14.
Right. So I had to go back to work because this was a lunch break for me, and so Rhonda, my partner, went and redid the bill so we could file it that day. The people were expecting it to be filed. We had worked hard to get it ready. That actual petition had been seen by 12 attorneys. Nobody knows that, but we had, obviously we're grassroots, so we didn't have a whole bunch of money to send out, but we did have attorney friends in the legislature as well as all over the state who were interested in it. Some of them are candidates, in fact, and reviewed it and gave it a thumbs up, and we turned it in, and it was accepted by the Secretary of State, but it was not accepted in the end by the Supreme Court. Right, so I want to talk a little bit about that for a minute. The thing that they decided was that in the gist we didn't include the hotel motel tax,
which was no longer included anyway, which had already been struck down in a separate piece of legislation.
Right, 1012.
Exactly.
And also we didn't include little cigars, and the reason that we didn't include that was because it was 0.001% of the overall taxation, so it was kind of inconsequential. And then in the final analysis, we also had messed up well, we didn't mess it up, but we pulled the bill and it didn't have the proper page numbers and section numbers on that particular bill that had been pulled. So it sounded like Scrivener's error, number 1, from where we got it off of the website, and number 2, really nitpicky from the Supreme Court.
Very, very nitpicky, grasping at straws, going through things with the proverbial fine-tooth comb to find any inconsistencies that they could use against us.
Any reason to throw it out, right?
Exactly. That's definitely the general consensus I'm hearing out there on the streets.
Definitely. Well, the Attorney General offered up his opinion for both of those protests, and in each case, he ruled in our favor. It wasn't a ruling, but he opined in our favor, if you will, calling that very nitpicky. And it turns out 7-2 in our Supreme Court ruled in that favor. So
it was not a unanimous decision.
Right.
And I hear the 2 justices that dissented had some very strong words to say.
Yep.
And we'll be hearing more about that later. But
right. Wyrick and Winchester. We will talk about that another time.
Yes.
Yeah. So, people have been asking, where do we stand now? And obviously, this was slow walked by the Supreme Court from the time that they heard it to the time that they offered their decision. And that rendered us nearly impotent, if you will, to start over. They said we could do the petition, but we'd have to redo it. And all of the signatures that we'd already gathered
were invalid.
Were totally invalid, null and void, get rid of them. And it would be logistically impossible.
Right. And wasn't, you mentioned the gist. Wasn't part of the gist of the Supreme Court's ruling that those signatures would be invalidated and null and void because they believe that the voters, the citizens of Oklahoma that signed the petition in its current form, did not possibly understand what they were signing.
Or were deceived.
Or were deceived.
Right. So tell me this. If we did include the hotel motel tax, is that deception? Because it was already repealed. But we didn't include the hotel motel tax, therefore, that's deception. See these gymnastics?
Right. You know, what are they really trying to say?
It gets to where just the lay person, the lay citizen of the state can really have no power. That's what it's come down to.
And we certainly wouldn't wanted to have had the hotel motel tax, which I believe would have been an extra $5 per night per room, right?
Yes.
And I have friends in the hotel business, so they tell me these things.
To include church camps.
And to include church camps. And I remember it was Second Amendment Day at the Capitol when a lot of the people from the hospitality industry were there making their protest against this.
Exactly.
But had we included that, you know, that could have been considered fear-mongering if you really think about it, making them think that the situation was far worse than it really was, just so that we could get them to sign it. But we were not trying to do that at all.
We had no interest to deceive.
No.
We only want to protect the taxpayer of Oklahoma.
Certainly.
So now we're asked, what are you going to do now? Well, we are not filing a petition to work on this particular case, meaning July 18th is the last date to turning in 42,000 signatures
after starting from scratch.
Right. So it would be impossible.
We looked at the timing and the logistics, and it's just not possible.
And I do want to mention one thing very important, and that is on from the Supreme Court's decision, page 4 and 5. Our biggest obstacle, Adrian, through this whole process was the teacher union groups, the education lobbies, the people that were resistant to us, the people who stole petitions out of convenience stores, the people who boycotted stores that were hosting petitions, lying about our intent, certainly lying about the fact that we were trying to repeal the teacher pay raise. Now, they weren't the only ones that said that.
Yes.
The media across the state said that constantly. So that was a battle we just never could get beyond. Right. But the Supreme Court stated on their decision, page 4 and 5, the actual question was, what does this repeal have effect on the teacher pay raise? And then the next 4 words was, the answer is none.
None.
So we would circle that and highlight that and share that all around and still be called liars and hating teachers, hating education, hating children.
We're lying by simply literally showing people what the Supreme Court said.
Actually said, right.
And
so we have a battle on our hands, folks. Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite is not going away. We will regroup. We have a lot of work to do ahead of us. So it's very exciting to grow a grassroots organization and to really dig out the infrastructure of that, because I feel like we really don't have that in Oklahoma, and the taxpayers are counting on us.
I agree. You know, people of Oklahoma, we're all taxpayers. Why not be united?
Well, we're not all taxpayers.
Well, not all. There's some of us out there. And I'm not talking about subsidies and incentives either. But again, that's a topic for another time as well. But, you know, these taxation issues are ongoing. They're not going away. Therefore, why should we go away? You know, we need to continue to fight the good fight and be that voice of advocacy for the people of Oklahoma.
It turns out that this $500 million taxation was unnecessary and burdensome, as we've stated from the very beginning. Our instincts were right way back in March when this bill came about, because now we can see several months, I think we're in 14 months of growth now, revenue growth, and surplus in our state.
Absolutely. All of the numbers are right there at the state treasurer's website. Open records, anyone can look at it. Record revenues, record receipts for the state. We have a surplus, not to mention things we've already talked about, you know, things like with the health department slush fund and all the money that's just sitting out there that could be used for these purposes, but just aren't being used properly and efficiently. There's so much fraud, waste, and abuse to be dealt with.
So much malfeasance when it comes to the finances for Oklahoma. That's why Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Yep. So it's exciting. So what else do we have on our agenda today? We got more to talk about. We've got a full lineup. Adrian and I wanted to give you the rundown of what's been going on and what's coming. What's coming actually is, of course, we know there's a runoff. We had a primary election June 26th. And the runoff is coming up at August 28th.
Right, for a variety of state offices, from the governor on down. So
lots of state offices.
A lot of state offices, and a lot of political involvement this time around. So many more people on the ballot. So it's good to see the voter turnout.
Yes, but did you feel like that was an anomaly just because of 788, or is that a watershed moment of things to come?
I think that it's a combination of things. 788 being one of them, as well as the things that we're dealing with the teacher pay raise issues and that taxation. I say that because of the number of school teachers that had signed up to be on the ballot and be candidates. 110, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And with that being said, as I was out on the campaign trail helping a number of candidates, that knowledge that we had teachers out there running was very permeable out there. It was very perceptible, and you would go to knock on doors, and there were people that thought you might be a teacher.
Right. Now, how was the reception for that? Positive or negative or both?
Well, from where we were going, in the district that we were operating in, and again, I was supporting mostly Republican candidates. So again, we were doing focused knocking. We were going to Republican doors of people that vote in primaries, and when they thought that we were a teacher, they shut the door on us.
Really?
They were not excited about it. They were not supportive of these tax increases. Again, they want teachers to have pay raises. They understand that, but they're not in support of raising taxes, but unnecessarily to do so.
Yeah.
And we would have people that would run us off of their porch, but we'd still have enough time to hand them a piece of information and give them a flyer. And I'd say 8 times out of 10, by the time we made it down the patio, down the walkway to the street, they'd come running back out to talk to us after they had a chance to look at the literature we provided them with.
That's awesome. So we were able to actually get our message heard rather than just be run off.
Absolutely.
That's good news. That's good news. Oh, here's something we need to talk about.
Oh, yes. Video here of the story about this teenager, and it was in Texas, I believe, right? Hey, it's Whataburger country.
Yeah. So
he was at a Whataburger in Texas, just minding his own business, eating his meal, and he's being accosted and harassed by this other person because he was wearing a MAGA hat, Make America Great Again. And the guy took the kid's hat off of his head, stole his hat, theft of private property, assault and battery, throws the guy's drink in his face. Yeah. And it's been captured. It was cell phone footage, video.
I'm seeing the left is really, and this is like the word of 2018. I hate using it all the time, but it seems like the left has really grown unhinged about the Trump movement, about
they've lost their minds
so much.
They're
yes,
unstable,
right?
And they're resorting these amazing bullying tactics.
Well, we dealt with that ourselves.
And yes, we did. We dealt with some bullying and some name calling and all of the boycotting or calls for boycotts.
Right. Stealing.
Thievery, stealing.
So it's not just Oklahoma. It's happening all over. We saw even with ICE. That now they want to abolish ICE.
Yes.
Does the Democrat Party have a platform besides hating Trump?
I don't think so. I think he's the lightning rod. He's the symbol or the personification of that which they hate, and so they're going to direct a lot of their venom at Donald Trump, and kind of like trickle down economics, trickle down hate-onomics for conservative values, and America as a whole, if you really get down to it, in my opinion, they just. I don't know. I'm just speechless at this point.
I know, but aren't you encouraged when you see things like currently there's a campaign going on called the Walk Away campaign?
Yes, hashtag Walk Away.
Awesome.
That is amazing.
And that really is about Democrats who have decided that they can't trust their party anymore, that they have no platform to stand on, that they're only about hate and vitriol. And
they've come to the realization that the party that they are a member of no longer represents their basic values, and they have goals that are not in line with what the rank and file member should have. And we've seen some of that before here in Oklahoma as well. Organizations, particularly some of the unions, the state troopers, and chambers of commerce as well, with things like a constitutional carry issue we had, with these organizations issuing statements that were indicative of the organization's beliefs and their wishes, but did not reflect the views of their members, nor do they even consult with their members before issuing these statements and these condemnations of things that they don't like.
Right. Of course, we're talking mostly about state question or state bill, Senate bill, SB 1212, the constitutional carry that she actually didn't allow to go to a pocket veto. She literally vetoed it. And that was a real shocker to us. So currently we see yesterday was quite the day for 4th of July, Independence Day. I hope you had a great time.
I did.
Did you see the Statue of Liberty? All the activity?
I did not see it, but I heard a lot about it. Yeah. So apparently a person made their way to Liberty Island and began to climb up the Statue of Liberty as a way of protesting.
Yeah, a woman from Congo.
Congolese woman. I think that's the word for it.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this, Brooke?
Again, back to the word of the year, they're unhinged. I mean, to climb the statue, what is she trying to say? What is she trying to say?
I don't know.
She's risking her life.
Is it just a publicity stunt, knowing that cameras would be there to see her climbing? And I think it's so out of character for someone from Congo to do that. Right. I'm flabbergasted. It's very shocking. I mean, they evacuated the island. The place was on lockdown, and it was a big to-do. Right.
Well, they certainly hate Trump, and they hate us. And they hate our way, you know. And to see the Democrats now trying to abolish ICE is that is literally often left field.
It is, and you know, that's just another part of the anti-police movement, if you will.
It is.
You know, there's so many anti-law enforcement folks out there as well, and that's what ICE does at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Back the blue, brothers. And we'll be back in a moment with Willard Linzy.
And research, but you can get first reaction on the meter. So I can go recurse. Like heaven, like a pizza. If I got the just the silence of the pizza. Forgiveness.
All right, so I think it's very appropriate to apologize for some language and song for our break. Did not know about that.
I didn't do it.
I know you didn't. I'm welcoming you back, and I want to welcome in Mr. Willard Linzy. He's Senate candidate for Senate District 48, which is right here in the northeastern heart of Oklahoma County.
It is in the very center of it, in fact.
Yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today.
But thank you for having me on your show.
Excellent. So, okay, so I'm seeing a picture of the district and how it's all cut up here in the county.
Very gerrymandered district. Actually goes from basically Memorial Road and May Avenue down to roughly about Hefner, and then over to Broadway Extension, and then it kind of comes down along Broadway Extension to Bricktown, you might say, and then over to I-35. So we got three major sections of that. The first section from May Avenue over to Broadway Extension, pretty opulent part of the district. And just about everything you want to find is there. That's where you have the Cabela's, St. Anthony Hospital, whole lot of development going on, and we're really excited about things happening there.
Okay.
When we get between Broadway Extension and I-35, I've said before, it's where a lot of it's in transition. A lot of developments there. The indigenous residents are either staying in place and developing or moving on, and development is coming in. So I see some opportunities there as their senator to kind of help guide and walk us through that process.
Good.
When we get beyond I-35, now that's why I'm running. And there we found there's absolutely nothing that can demonstrate that for the last 12 years, whoever's represented them at the Senate or at any legislative level has been very effective in moving any agendas.
I'm seeing some real, dilapidated areas here in the eastern part of the city here.
The eastern part of that district is abysmal. It really is. What once were thriving economic centers, places of commerce, they don't exist anymore, and that troubles me. I really believe those the voters in that part of the district deserve better.
Are they? What's the percentage of voters in that part of the district versus the others? Do you know?
No,
are they represented well? Or?
Well, are they represented well?
I mean, are they voting? Do they vote?
No, they do vote.
Do they vote?
Yes, I think when I look at the precincts in the eastern part of the county, I think we're like at 6,000 or something.
Okay.
Then we have the central core, of course, is around 7,000, and then 5,000 in the western core. So it's still a large chunk of voters out there, and they are voting.
Good deal.
I'm simply saying I don't think they're getting their money's worth.
No, it doesn't look like it, given the dilapidation and the decline that's occurring. So tell us what you can do when you are one of 48 in Oklahoma Senate.
Well, one of 40. I think what we have, there's 48 senators in the state of Oklahoma. 40 of them are Republicans today. 8 are Democrats. I think that the voice of one can make a difference. I believe that a voice inside the room is far more effective and beneficial than no voice at all. So when we look at it from that context, what can I do? Well, at least let's start with I can give some voice in the room of policy where they're deciding how we're going to allocate state appropriations, what issues are important, what bills are we going to even advance and take to the floor. I think that's the first thing I bring to the table. What will we actually get done? Well, we have to talk clearly about the process, and the process is real simple. It takes 25 votes in the Senate to make something happen. 25 votes to kill something that you don't want to see happen. So in that context, I still have to garner 24 support in the Senate chamber. That's far better than I think my opponent is going to have an opportunity to do.
Right.
Again, when I do the math, and again, I'm not a mathematician, but 40 minus 25 leaves me with some votes to spare.
Sure.
8 minus 25 tells me I'm in a negative column.
You're just out of luck.
Until you come talk to some people on the other side of the aisle, I don't see your issue becoming something that goes to the floor and gets advanced. So that's what I think I can do in a simple sense. Now, can I reach that? Can I reach the constituents in Senate District 48 with that message?
By November.
By November, it's a real tall order. I need all the help and support I can get there because it is a real challenge for them.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge.
Right.
The district is 75 or so percent Democrat, 78% African American.
Wow.
When you combine the two together, there's a strong distrust for sending a Republican to speak on their behalf. In fact, I get questions all the time. How do we know he'll even share the thoughts and concerns that we ask him to? And my answer, Brooke, I'll tell you, you'll never know if you don't send him.
Right.
Okay, so the logic of not sending him and giving him a message is far more detrimental to you than sending him and seeing if it carries the message. I believe I will. I think I know how to articulate any message. I'm a pretty intelligent fellow. But to have someone say, I'm not going to elect him because we don't know whether he will or will not.
Well, I think the important thing is that you build relationships with your constituents, obviously, and once they get to trust you and to know you, then they may put that trust in you. So, and that's a tall order.
It is a tall order because I'm asking them to do something that's very
outside of their purview.
They've never done it.
Right.
And so I had a lady tell me in a hamburger shop once, and she was listening, and it was about the teachers piece, and I had some concerns about how they approached the teacher strike, which they didn't call a strike. And she said, well, I see right now we're going to have to vote you out of office. And I said, whoa, ma'am, you haven't voted me in yet. So before you can fire me, you have to hire me. It's that kind of a mentality of thought that you're not going to be going our way. And I'm like, well, we don't know that I'm not going to do anything that you don't want to see done. But before you can say that, you first have to elect me, ask me to do something, and then help me not do it.
Right.
Okay.
So you know about this walkaway campaign. You also probably saw where when Kanye West offered his support for President Trump, that the African American male support in the United States doubled almost overnight for President Trump. So is there any way that you can articulate the Trump message and pull in people who are ready to leave the Democratic way of thought?
Well, I'm not taking an approach in this campaign of pulling any particular voter away from where they believe they're ideologically anchored at. I think I want to have a conversation about stay where you are, send Willard. And so I think that's the more powerful message. whether it's a Trump alliance or outgoing the past President Obama alliance. I'm not trying to forge any alliance there. I'm saying let's talk about the real opportunity for political victory. And the real opportunity for political victory, as you said in the Kanye West piece, where African-American males were able to identify with him, it wasn't so much about Trump as much as it was about what he said. And I think that we're going to, I want to take...
Well, and what he did, because we have the lowest amount of black American unemployment in the history of where they've measured unemployment. I mean, so you're seeing growth with economy, growth in those areas. So why haven't more African Americans jumped on the Trump train?
The numbers don't matter. There was a question. I heard a bird singing just now. I think he's trying to talk about a comment that was made by my opponent. He said that the numbers don't matter.
Nice feed.
Okay, yeah, and I heard that before, and I'm thinking, is he in the room? I didn't think he was here today. That was a comment that was made by my opponent in a political forum.
Sure.
They said the numbers didn't matter.
Okay. It's like saying facts don't matter.
Well, when you see these numbers, you can see why he tried to convince the voters that it's not just about the numbers. Well, the numbers are horrible. You know, like I said, when you look at the composition in the House and the composition in the Senate, they're totally different, and he only has experience in the House. Mm-hmm. You say when Kanye made a comment about the unemployment rate in the African American community, again, I'm not trying to draw wedge issues on this. When we saw that there was unrest in the area of illegal immigration, and there began to be a realignment of that, the zero tolerance policies that discouraged illegal immigration, that does drive a demand for increased need for labor, which I think the African American community benefited from that. Because perhaps we could draw a correlation that illegal immigration was having an adverse effect on the employment opportunities within the African American community. So those are the correlations that I would draw to it. We're just talking about numbers. I haven't seen all that data. You're sharing with me that there was an observable or documented growth. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I haven't seen those numbers. Okay. But I could see how those things began to work towards in creating opportunities, even within my district. There's a lot of poverty in Senate District 48. Right. There's a lot. We have the hospital complex, medical research park. There's a lot of economic centers, engines there, but a lot of those individuals cannot apply for those jobs. Mm-hmm. And so as we begin to create economic opportunities where there's some other job employment opportunities, that we can get even more of the citizens in Senate District 48 gainfully employed. Lowering the need for welfare, we might say. Lowering the need for assisted or subsidized medical services. I'm saying there are some real opportunities if we go in some different directions that apparently the representatives for that district weren't able to either move that legislation forward or didn't have an interest in moving it. Again, I'm not going to get into why it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I will tell you it didn't happen. Have you always been a Republican? I've been a Republican. Well, I was a Democrat for about a year, back when I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And I think the following year I registered as a Republican. Really? So I've really been a Republican. Can you say why? Can you speak to why you decided to, change after a year of Democrat? Well, I think it was initially I registered as a Democrat because all of my family were Democrats. Yeah. Everyone that I knew were Democrats in my community. After the first year, I began to look at what the ideological issues are that basically form those platforms, and that's why I changed. I just believed I identified more so with less government, less taxes, independence, no dependency, liberty, and freedom. Appeared to be something that I identified with more so. That's awesome. Needless to say, you'll probably find most African Americans that haven't been socialized into entitlement ideologies really believe the same thing. Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Wow. So what else would you like to tell us about your campaign and how we can help you and get involved? Because you've got, you're not in the runoff. You didn't have an opponent. I did not. But you are in November, and you do need help. You need our assistance. I need all the help I can from freedom-loving, liberty-committed voters in Oklahoma. And again, when I say Oklahoma, it's really not even Oklahoma. As I was saying, the financial contributors to the campaign are the lifeblood in many cases to how we get a message out to voters. So, and I was sharing with another friend of mine from the party, I said, all of that's green. And so I can do away with white people and black people and red people and yellow people. Let's just go with the green people, the dead presidents. I thank you for laughing. That was intended to be a joke.
Benjamin was not a president. It's all about the Benjamins.
It is about the Benjamins. Okay, send as many as you can. I think that the message is on point. Clearly, having a voice in the room is still far more important to these voters. And again, this is a predominantly black district, but please understand, it's not a totally black district.
Sure.
African Americans are not the only ones that in this district that have had their voice silenced.
Right.
There are European and Asians and Hispanics that live in this district, and because of what we saw as the voting practice over the last 12 years, all of them are silenced. I need them to understand. You're shut out too. You either need to go to your cousin's senator or your brother-in-law's legislator, because your legislator can't get the deal done.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah, clearly.
So that's how I think we can help. As Pastor, where the man's not here to hurt you, he's merely saying, same people, same message. Have some conversation about who should be the right messenger given today's composition of the Senate. And I don't see that likely to change. We talked offline about whether the Senate was going to go into Democrat rule, and I just don't see that happening.
I see a few seats that are up for grabs. Probably not enough that it will make it go down from the supermajority that it now sits. I know that they're working to that end probably for 2020. But for now, you're probably right. I think obviously yin was yanked.
Yes.
And there were more Democrats that voted in that election than in Republicans. I think Mark Allen is also in danger, and I think the seat that David Holt held might be a little bit in danger to go Democrat. But remains to be seen.
That's three. You need five.
Okay, I've got four. I've got the fourth one. What's the other one? Yin, Holt, Allen. It's not coming to mind.
Gotta give me five. When you give me five, I get weary.
I don't want you to have it.
Okay, well, I don't think you'll get it.
I don't want it to go Democrat or under supermajority for sure. But is there anything else you'd like to speak to our audience today while you're with me?
Well, that's really what's on my mind. Those are the questions you asked. It's an uphill battle. We have 4 months to try to reach as many Republicans and turn them out. But in all honesty, I have to reach 2,500 Democrat voters. And reach them with the message of, you don't send chickens to duck fights and expect to win.
Right.
Let me be the duck that you send. And so that's an awesome number, 2,500 voters.
So will your opponent sit down, or will he agree to a forum or a debate in your district?
I really don't think he will.
Yeah. I'm seeing that a lot. A lot of them are just saying no. I don't understand why. You think he will? Someone off screen thinks he might. So maybe we should work to that end pretty soon.
Okay, we're getting the wrap up. We will see if that works.
Yeah,
I think
it's worth the question.
By the time I hammer on them once in the upcoming round of the primary runoffs, some have already argued that I don't think he'll agree, but I'll show up.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, sir. Appreciate it. Willard Linzy, State Senate District 48, folks.